Hey everybody, good morning. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Welcome back. Uh Hopefully you guys got outside, got some exercise, got to enjoy the weather. I know it was nice here. I'm still in Connecticut. I don't leave till like Friday. Thursday or Friday is when I'm going to take off. So definitely looking forward to the trip with my son, road trip. And I know it's going to be exciting and fun and all those things. So yeah, Ain't Buying it just mentioned that Now You See TV wanted to do a duo, so I appreciate that. We're actually working on that. I got an email from Pounders and John Pounders, and we're going to work on that, but I just need time to get over to the place and get adjusted, and he understands that, so it'll probably be middle of June. What I'll do is probably do some kind of a call-in with him, and we'll do a full show. I'm not sure what the subject matter is going to be. We'll probably mostly just be hanging out and talking about various topics. And so I'm excited about that. I don't do too many collaborations, you guys, for good reason. You know, unfortunately, our truth community can be very divided. Also, it's a lot of guilt by association. Now, most people understand that guilt by association, isn't, you shouldn't be doing that, right? But the trolls have a field day with this kind of stuff. I remember way back when probably about the second or third year my channel had started, like probably 2013, 2014. There was this thing where these I don't know what you call them, but anyway, they were coming around to the YouTube channel saying, hey, do you want to join this network? And so I joined this network thinking these people were going to help my channel grow. And unfortunately, it became a situation where everyone was like, oh, he's part of that network with all those people. And then they tried to associate me with those other people in that network. And so these are the kinds of things we have to deal with on YouTube, you guys. It's very sad. But so I've learned a lot over the years, and I tend to not do collaborations. But I like these guys. I think they're great. I don't agree with everything that they talk about, but I know that their heart is in the right place. They love God. They're on a journey to find truth. I've seen them, correct things that they say. That's always a good sign when someone comes back and says, hey, maybe we were wrong about this, or our understanding about that grew, and so we're going to, say this. And so those are all good signs, as well as they've used some of the work on this channel. We've had a few mentions on their channel. And they always, say, hey, this is where we got it from, and so on and so forth. So those are all good signs. So I agreed to do a collaboration with Now You See TV, and I'm excited about it. And so hopefully you guys will all be tuning in. So what are we here to do today? Well, remember all the shows that we did about trees being portals? Well, today, you're not going to believe what you're about to see. Two separate TV series, with the main theme being tree portals. The two series are Stranger Things Season 4 and Night Sky. Now I've got these pulled up in a montage here. Here you actually see the two tree stumps. Now people thought we were crazy when we started talking about tree stumps being portals. But now we're seeing Hollywood actually copying some of the discoveries that we made. Now we're going to start out with Night Sky. Now this is a TV series about an elderly couple who discovers a strange portal underneath a tree. Let's just back this up a little bit. Underneath a tree that the husband dug up. Why did he dig up the tree? Because the tree was tormenting his wife. She would just sit on the porch and stare at this tree, because it reminded her of their late son, because he would swing on the tree on a tree swing. And so what you're going to notice is the sacrificial aspect to this, that the son had to die to gain access to the portal. Watch.
Through the doorways.
They all connect to each other like a network of doorways. That's how I got here. I have to find him. If I can find him, I have a chance. I can start a new life.
Now this guy here, he's like the dark son. And they actually call themselves fallen angels in the series. You'll see that at the end of this montage here. But basically, out of the death of her son, this son emerges from the tree portal. Watch.
I can start a new life.
That's her first son that died. He's on the tree swing. The husband then goes and cuts it down. Okay, that's kind of loud. Let's turn this down a little bit. It's probably blowing your guys' eardrums out. And so then the opening sequences of the series, Night Sky, are these stars shaped in a pattern, the pattern of the iris of the eye, which is also a portal. The Bible says the eye is the window to the soul. Now, we haven't completely broken down what exactly that means, but there's been a lot of clues, and we're piecing this together, the direction of the Holy Spirit, of course, what exactly that means, that the eyes are the window to the soul. Let's keep watching here.
It's getting dark.
So he finds this portal underneath the tree stump, again, confirming what we've been saying for about 3 or 4 years now. Let's keep watching. Now, listen, I want you to understand that when I rehash and talk about and remind you about previous decodes and things we've already covered, it's not to serve my ego. I had someone come on here and accuse me and say, I can't watch your videos because your ego is through the roof. Well, that's completely untrue. We are a channel of humility. We always give the glory to the Most High. But don't mistake me reminding you of the past work for me trying to pat myself on the back. That's not what I'm intending to do. I'm intending to remind you of the patterns so that you can remember that we had covered that, and so that it all starts to congeal and make sense. Let's keep watching here.
What is it?
I don't know.
So they go into this room, and it's basically underneath the tree, and these are the portals that take them into other worlds.
Welcome to the fallen world.
Welcome to the fallen world. Now, we aren't going to go too much deeper into Night Sky. Other than that, I did watch the entire season. But that was pretty much most of the symbolism. It didn't get too detailed. It was mostly just about these tree portals. I mean, I'm sure we could have spent more time on it, but it really wasn't full of much symbolism other than that. Now I want to get into Stranger Things, Season 4. Because this also is about tree portals. Watch.
It was like they were on display or something. And then there was this red fog everywhere. It was like a dream, a nightmare.
So, Stranger Things, of course, Netflix's most popular series. It probably saved them from bankruptcy, to be honest with you. Taps into this whole Dungeons and Dragons lore, is what it's mostly about, which was actually going on during the time I was growing up. I grew up in the 80s, but they really try to hyperbolize this Dungeons and Dragons fear that the Christians had during this time period. Fear about this game and everything associated with it. And I really don't believe it was that bad, is that how it was depicted in the series in terms of the Christian fear. I know they had the whole satanic panic And I guess that was part of it. And parents were afraid of it, I suppose, but they weren't condemning children or going on witch hunts and things like that. The series really tries to basically say that a lot of that was going on, and there were all these witch hunts, and they try to minimize and discredit the truth about this, which is that this was happening. But by trivializing it in the series and making it sound like no big deal, they basically absolve themselves of any guilt. You see, what happened is during this era, people started communicating more. Before the internet, there were blogs and books and people writing papers and publications. This is how they communicated in the 80s, because there was no internet. But as things began to come online, people started sharing stories. And so these Satanists could no longer get away with what they were getting away with, could they? And so this is where they had to go underground, and they had to hide more and be a little bit more careful about what they were up to. Let's keep watching here. Now, believe it or not, this being a children's series is kind of scary. I tried to hide some of the more graphic parts of this so you guys aren't spiritually affected by this. But basically what the series is about is an alternate and dark universe called the Upside Down. And the Upside Down requires child sacrifice in regular intervals as interdimensional portals are opened to the abyss through these sacrifices. And I believe this is going on in real life, that these tree portals, this is why you have tree worshipers. Not everyone who loves trees is a Satanist, but guess what? They're starting to go down a road where these things are going to start happening to them, because this is all about tree sacrifice. This is why Pan, the horned god, was roaming around in the forest, because it was all about that. Horns are like branches, and this is at the root of this is the tree of evil. At the very root of this, quite literally at the root, right? Pun intended. So in this latest season, they just have a new monster, but this monster is different. He actually looks like a tree, and with roots that go everywhere in the Upside Down. And he hangs his victims from tree stumps and twists them up like gnarled branches when he sacrifices them. So, we were right. This is about the trees. Let's keep watching. Now here's the Chronos time aspect to all this, which we talk a lot about on this channel.
Like a normal old clock.
And the first several episodes, the time Chronos clock appears on the tree stump, on the tree, what is this called? Not the stump, but the base of the tree, right? The trunk of the tree is where it appears. And this is the first clue. Now this girl right here, her name is Chrissy. And she's the first victim in this new season. So obviously this is Christ mockery, isn't it? Because Chrissy, Christ, is hung on a tree, quite literally. Now I'm not going to show you that part because it's very graphic. But basically, this demon levitates the victim in the air and breaks every single one of their bones and basically turns them into a gnarled tree. Is basically what they look like.
Why is this wizard obsessed with clocks? Maybe he's like a clockmaker or something?
I want you to find Dr. Ellis. Can you do that?
Now, of course, this is the shearing of the sheep ritual, something we discovered about 6 months ago. This is how they disconnect our portals to the spiritual, to the Most High. they shear our heads. So this is why this is becoming popular. Shearing the sheep, shearing our heads. So that the darkness can be allowed to come in. Now, we saw Thump shaving the head of the commissioner of WWE in his shearing ritual, didn't we? That was all pointing forward to what's happening right now. They knew what was going to happen. He even mentioned some kind of palsy. He mentioned palsy. The commentator, while Thump was shearing the head of the commissioner, he said the commentator mentioned palsy, which of course is one of the side effects of the very thing that he would create at warp speed. Let's keep watching here. Now, interestingly, in the series, all of the children who are especially gifted with these telekinetic powers have their heads shaved. Now, this is interesting because I shared a personal experience with you based on a scholarship that I got years ago when I was in middle school. And they sent the memo to us in the mail, and it said, no hair clippers allowed, no cutting of the hair during the 4 weeks we were in the program. And as I began watching Stranger Things, I began to see similarities between the program that we were in, the art program, it's supposed to be an art program, and some of the elements of Stranger Things. Now, of course, the opposite happened to me. We didn't have our heads shaved, but maybe they were trying to tap into our hair, which is an extension of the nervous system. Maybe that's what this is all about. Tapping into the nervous system. Now, there's biblical precedent for shearing of the head as an act of humility, as an act of resetting a person's spirituality. This is all throughout the Bible. They talk about baldness and shearing of the hair. Of course, Samson losing his hair, losing his strength. Many passages in the Bible that represent some kind of meaning to this, some kind of spiritual meaning to the shearing of one's head. There's even a passage that talks about sheep, and that when they are being sheared, this is in the Bible, you guys, that they are silent. They sit peacefully. And this is where the Silence of the Lambs title came from. Because as he was going and taking his victims, he was basically gloating about how easy it was, that they just pretty much walked right into his traps. The Silence of the Lambs. This is all very serious stuff, you guys. Now let's keep watching here. Now this next part I included because of Skull and Bones. Obviously, they have to just continually put their 322 in everything, don't they? Now, most people in our community of truth see these numbers over and over again and understand that they're very real. But as you can see, these decodes go far, far deeper than just the numerology and the pyramids and the all-seeing eyes. Those are the obvious symbols. But I included this in here so that you can see that this is very real, that 322 is very real to these people. And they parade it all throughout their films. Now, in this scene, just so you know, 11, which is the name of the girl, she's one of the most gifted of the children with powers. And she's in a skating rink. And it's a humiliation ritual as basically these girls put her in the middle of the skating rink, and they all spin around her in a circle and make fun of her until she falls down in humiliation. Remember, spirals are portals. So even them, skating around her in a circle, it has significance.
Stress, huh?
This girl got smacked in the head today at the roller rink.
Smacked.
Yeah, it was one of those vicious skate attacks.
Now, this next part is crazy because every once in a while, I even get my mind blown by some of the stuff that we find here. Because it's crazy. Like, we always talk about words backwards, don't we? We always talk about how these people, literally the English language is, you can almost take every single word, spell it backwards, and sometimes you might have to scramble it, but you can find the deeper meaning to a word inside of the original word just by reversing the word or scrambling it. And this should give you all the clues you need as to who really runs this world, who really came up with the English language. Okay? The people that run the planet, right? US is the most powerful nation in the world. Why do you think that is, even though our economy's in the dump? Why do we still have all this power? Well, I have my thoughts on why that is. Casey, what are you talking about? That doesn't say a tax. Skate backwards doesn't say a tax. Of course it does. Now, of course, this stuff is not exact, but listen to the dialogue. They say it over and over. Well, I repeat it, but skated tax is clearly what they were getting at here. Watch.
Skated ahead today at the roller rink? Smacked. Yeah, it was one of those vicious skate attacks.
Skate attack. Yeah. Can you tell me your name?
Angela.
Angela. Yeah, but it wasn't like an ice skate. It was a plastic skate.
Yeah.
So what was that about? Well, 11 got upset because she was humiliated and she took one of the roller skates and bashed Angela in the head. Angela, of course, Angel. So it's all symbolic, isn't it? Angel was the ringleader who was bullying and harassing her. Now, as I was watching this, I got this overwhelming sense of anger because bullying should not be happening in modern day America. It shouldn't have even been happening in the 1980s. Where are the teachers? Now, I know people have different viewpoints about this. Even some of my peers, they're like, a little bullying's good. No, it's not. Well, would Jesus do that? If we're supposed to be Christians, why is bullying acceptable? That doesn't make you stronger. That's of the devil. And so that kind of stuff angers me. I was always the kid in school, not a kid, but a child, who would stick up for the people that were being bullied. And I would tell people to knock it off, or I would, I was strong, so I would not bully them back, but say something, or I'd stand in the way, or give them a stare, like, don't mess with that kid. And so you get this overwhelming sense of helplessness watching this series because there's a lot of bullying going on and nobody does anything about it. They just sit there and watch it. And this is the fault of our school systems. They have intentionally allowed this to happen because it's part of the hazing and grooming ritual to destroy your children and then so they can raise them in their image. It is literally intentional. And then when a child does something back at the people that have been bullying them, all we hear about is their reaction in the news, don't we? All we hear about is how they took out a bunch of other students. That's the part we hear. We don't hear what led up to that, all the failures, and the people that we have trusted to protect our children and not doing their job day in and day out. Another thing that I noticed and that frustrated me about this series was that they program your children not to tell. Several instances when 11 is being bullied and harassed, some people try to step in and help her, but then they ask her who did it and she won't tell them, no matter what. So snitching, another very unbiblical thing that people try to say, oh, you should never ever be a snitch. Well, no, that's not biblical. Jesus called people out for their hypocrisy, and he told them, you do not threaten a hair on these children's head, or you'll have a millstone tied around your neck. Do you think Jesus went around allowing people to exploit people and hurt them without telling the truth? Of course not. Look, you can't go wrong if you just think of Jesus' example. and what he did and how he handled situations. Don't give in to the world's belief system of how they handle situations. That's of the devil. So, skate attacks. Very, very real.
It was a plastic skate.
Yeah. I think it's some kind of leak. I haven't had a chance to fix it with everything going on.
Now, of course, the mold aspect appears in the series. We had covered this months ago. We decoded Archive 81. Remember that? That's when we started seeing the mold. The mold made its appearance. Now, mold is the word in the Bible, the Hebrew word that's used to describe leprosy. Leprosy, the Hebrew word, means mold. This is in Leviticus. It also means the mark. So anytime there's demonic activity, you'll see mold appear. Again, we saw this in the Archive 81 decode that we did. Mold basically took over the building as the portal began to open.
I'm sorry. Am I in trouble?
And now we get into the core of it all. MK Ultra trauma-based mind control. Splitting the personality. Paper-clipping the spirit. Twinning the spirit. A small shape inside of a larger shape. A smaller person inside of a larger person. A paperclip. Watch.
Trouble? No. The blood supply to the brain is cut off. It scrambles the signals in the brain. You buried these memories long ago.
Now, how do they induce this kind of trauma? Well, sensory deprivation is one way. Sensory deprivation chambers, which were prominent throughout the seasons of Stranger Things. And we had decoded this in A Cure for Wellness. When we decoded that film, there was a sensory deprivation chamber that Leonardo DiCaprio is locked in. And we had surmised at that point that these deprivation tanks really represent rebirth. Because you're attached to an umbilical cord in complete darkness, just as you would be in the womb. Except there's a twist, because they are depicting here baptizing you into evil through trauma.
The mind can forget how to do things. To eat, to speak, to walk. Our brains have a defense mechanism.
Now, of course, erasing of the senses, another strong theme. Forgetting the forgetting. And here's where things get real. Because we, humanity, have been put into one large sensory deprivation chamber. We were isolated from our friends and family. Then we lost our taste and smell, and some people lost their hearing. Yes, Vidco 19 or whatever they used on us caused many people to lose their senses. We've been divided from our families out of fear of catching it. They're preparing us through sensory deprivation for a mass possession ritual event to allow the twin spirit to enter the host.
In place to protect it from bad memories, from trauma. It's important for you to not just see your past. In doing so, I believe we can repair your broken signals, but to fully re-experience it. Fully re-experience it.
So the demon spirit wakes up in the body and tries to remember its past by repeating its past. just like in the series that we decoded called Embers a few days ago, where the scientist was talking about the exact same thing, about retracing his steps. You see how all these fit together? These themes spanning decades and decades between these Hollywood productions, and it's the same themes repeating. Now, tomorrow, I discovered something pretty amazing, and we're going to get into this tomorrow. I don't want to give it all away, but here you see the twin spirits inhabiting the body. This is an ancient Egyptian relief, Set and Horus, and they're twisting the two seeds together, and then rebirth, animation, resurrection is happening at the top. We'll break all that down on tomorrow's show, but let's keep going with Stranger Things. Because here we go again. This pattern of disease and cure. Apollo is the disease, and Apollo is the cure. And I saved the best for last because you're going to hear it in their own words right now.
What if I'm not good? What if I'm the monster?
But this evil is like a virus. Each time it returns, it comes back stronger, smarter, deadlier. Who think you are the cause. I believe they're wrong. I believe you're the cure.
Now, there's more to do on Stranger Things Season 4. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through the season. And so stay tuned. There will be a part 2 to finish this up for you guys. There's actually a couple of the episodes that haven't aired yet. So let's go into the chat now and see what you guys are up to. Appreciate everybody showing up today. And again, I want to make a special announcement that in the middle of June, we're going to be doing a collaboration with Now You See TV, John Pounders. It's been a long time coming, so stay tuned for that. Please welcome anyone that has come over from that channel in the chat and in the comments section. So, all right, let's go in here and do a little Q&A. As you guys, gosh, what a crazy series, right? See what you guys are up to here. All right. So, do you guys understand the concept of a deprivation chamber? I know it's a little bit hard to understand, but basically it's a rebirth. It's a baptism ritual, a dark baptism. Because literally, rebirth and baptism is synonymous with childbirth. You're immersed in waters with an umbilical cord, a narrow gate. And that's how you get through the narrow gate to get to Christ. You immerse yourself in water and you go through the narrow gate. This is why it's called rebirth. So, I want you to understand what they were really depicting there. Because 11 is born again into darkness. It's when she gets her supernatural powers back in the series. So, Kanan says, do a collab with Zen Garcia. I know Zen, and we were a lot closer, like, earlier in this YouTube channel. And I haven't talked to him in a very long time, but his ideas are a little bit different. And I know he's friends with JK, and he has very different beliefs about the serpent seed. I don't believe we're fallen angels. I don't believe that Adam did it with Satan, because 1 Timothy is clear about Adam's role in the sin. Also, we have, the Bible says that angels have their own estate. We are not fallen angels, but there was some corruption of the seed line, and the devil was responsible. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And the same thing happened before the flood. They corrupted the seed line. This is why the Nephilim were born, right? The giants in the earth in those days and after. So their ideas are a little bit different. So again, this is why you got to watch out for collaborations, right? But again, I like Zen. I like him a lot. But I don't completely agree with his viewpoint on that particular topic. Rest of his work, I think, is pretty great. JK, on the other hand, not a big fan of him. You know, we butt heads often because of the ego and my feeling that he has kind of copied some of the work on this channel over the years. I don't know that for a fact. And that could have just been happening by accident, but it was just really weird. For many, many years that was happening. So, not a big fan of him. And thinking he's the angel of the Church of Philadelphia and calling himself a prophet and all that. Not a big fan of that. I think most of the prophets in the Bible were very, very humble people. And I just don't see that. I don't think God would send a prophet who holds himself in such high regard. So I'll just say that on that. But anyway, I know some of you follow him. That's fine. I'm not going to not like you for it. I love all of you. So, all right. What else do we have here? Move on to other things. Yeah, we're not the angels who fell. You guys, angels have their own estate. Bible's pretty clear. You just have to dig into it. I would do a whole study on it, but you know, you guys know. Sometimes people get caught up in the supernatural. They get caught up in, you know, some of these revelations, and they think that because a person discovered something that they need to listen to the person instead of glorifying the Most High and giving all the glory to Him. You just run away from people who try to take all the credit for things and start calling themselves angels and prophets and all that. I'm not a prophet, you guys, and you guys know that. I've never claimed that. I'm not an angel. I'm not anything. In fact, I do just the opposite. I tell you, I'm just like all of you. I'm just a person. We're all trying to figure this out. I try to give credit to all the people who, you know, come to this channel and who are part of the process of helping us discover all this stuff. So, you know, I'm nothing. I'm a lowly, humble person. And, you know, so that's what's going on this channel. All right. What else do we have here? Yes, we need to pray for people who are led astray, you know, for whatever reason. Okay. People who worship people instead of God. We got to pray for those people, obviously. All right. What else you guys want to talk about? No, KJ's awesome. Like KJ. I'm not hating on anybody. If you think that that's happening here, you're not listening to the words we're saying here. All right. What do I think our pre-existence looked like then? Okay, that's a really good question. Well, the Bible's clear in the book of Genesis. It says God created us out of dust and He breathed the breath of life inside of us. And it says that there was flesh, but I believe that the nature of our flesh was different. How do I know this? Well, because of the descriptions that the Bible gives, right? Remember, Eve's physical makeup changed. How? Well, for one, she developed birth pangs. So obviously there were no birth pangs before that. because that was part of the curse of being in the fallen world. Birth pangs. And so there's that one aspect to it. So that suggested a change in the physiology, right? Also, we know that Adam began to sweat. That's also in the book of Genesis. And so his physiology changed as well. Now, do we know exactly what our likeness was before the fall of man? No, we do not. There's no specific description given. But what I think it is that we were more like loosely put together, put it that way, like almost like partially spiritual and partially like fleshly. And then when sin entered the world, we began to condense into what we are now. And we began to be more of the likeness of the beasts instead of the image of God. Who knows? Maybe we were like trees before that. Maybe we had much more of a likeness of a tree in the spiritual, with limbs and a tree trunk and a crown of your head. I mean, who knows? I don't know. But so those are my thoughts on what our likeness was. Yes, and the whole naked thing. Yes. What did that really mean? Was it that we were really naked, or was it something else? Now, we do have anecdotal evidence throughout the Bible about nakedness, and I don't think it means what we think it means. I don't think a person was literally standing there naked. I think it has something to do with your covering. Your covering, and you can look this up in the Bible. This would be a great Bible study for people to look up, is what the Bible says about covering and your glory, which goes right back to the hair, right? That the Bible says that a woman's hair is her glory. What does that mean? Here's what I think it means. The beauty of a woman and the hair, it somehow spiritually affects a man, doesn't it? And maybe that's the glory. It's what a man sees as beauty in the woman. It's somehow spiritually connecting him and draws him towards her. Maybe that's what the Bible means by the glory of a woman, is her hair. It's what bonds the man. And you get a very different feeling when you see a woman with her head shaved, don't you? It does just the opposite. For a man, it can like repulse the man or turn him away from her. So, I don't know. These are just some thoughts. I'm just thinking out loud. Okay? So, these are just, things to think about. Some people believe that your hair is an extension of your nervous system. And I believe that that is probably the case as well. All right. I think we had some people sleeping in today. I got a little bit of a smaller group today. But I love all of you who showed up. And I guess the rest of the people will catch it on the flip side. Yes, it's a covering. Now, there's also another... remember the, what was it, Elijah or Elisha? He got the mantle from the prophet Elijah, and he was walking up a hill, and these boys started mocking him and calling him Baldy. Well, maybe, this was about this covering, this mantle that's talked about in Genesis, nakedness. So, there's something more to that. Something more to it. I can't wait to get to heaven and have God explain all this to us. The scrolls opened, filling in all the blanks of all the things that we like to imagine and think about, to explain these things. To me, it's just amazing. Never any shortage of interest in the Word, is there? All right. So, what else? Many of you mentioned, talking about trees and your hair connection. Remember the movie Avatar? They would use their hair to connect to each other. It was like their interface. They could download information through the hair. And what was that film all about? It was all about the trees, wasn't it? The giant tree in the middle of the garden. So that, there's something to this. Much more to it than meets the eye. Now, how did we lose all of these realizations and connections? Well, the biblical interpreters. when they translated a lot of this stuff from the original tongue, a lot of it got lost in translation. And this is why, some people say, oh, you're adding to the Bible. No, we're not adding anything to the Bible. We're simply trying to find the original interpretation. We're not relying on man's interpretation. We're looking at the original language and seeing what possibilities there are. And as long as none of that interferes with the gospel, the biblical message, belief in God, or any of the biblical tenets that we know are correct and true, then there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. We're not adding to the Bible. We're just looking at other possibilities. So, and the second that anything that comes out of our mouth contradicts, or puts someone's salvation at risk, you need to let me know, because that is not my intention when we look into this stuff. So, what's not biblical? L is Yeshua. Yes, he cursed them and bears ate them. Remember that? Remember the decode we did on that? Where the bears that ate the boys who were making fun of Elisha, we were like, okay, what's that about? Well, guess what? When bears go into hibernation, they get alopecia. They go bald. See, with God, the punishment always fits the crime. So the boys making fun of bald Elijah were eaten up by bald bears. Interesting, right? Now, a lot of people discourage this kind of, biblical research. Okay? But that's because they're afraid. Or it's because they're so ingrained in big box Christianity and the repeated messaging that they've been given that has not increased in knowledge in the last days, that they are scared. They're scared of biblical interpretations. And, okay, that's fine if you want to be scared of that. I guess that's okay. That's up to you. I can tell you this. What has biblical interpretation done for the big box Christian church? Hasn't done really a thing, has it? Because those are the very people who worship a man who has completely shown already who he is in his past. Money-loving, women-loving, inappropriate to his own daughter. And we've seen that, and still these people believe in him. The very same people that stood in line to take the venom. So, the people that criticize this channel, it's because they want people to remain in ignorance and go right along with the agenda and believe the lies. So, all right. Okay, you guys. Well, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'm glad you guys showed up, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care and be safe, everybody.